So I was thinking before we actually got fully started, we should probably mention for people who may not know, we used to be Blockstars Unplugged,
Yep.
and yeah, and now we are two fungible devs. We'll talk about how that came about in a little bit here, but we're still going to be talking about Blockstars, do Blockstars interviews,
Yep.
contests, even possibly have some sneak peeks. But now we'll also talk about other projects and some other nerdy dev topics.
Yep.
Yeah. And I am Cranzini.
Oh, we've started. I thought you were just telling me what we were gonna say.
Oh, well, I mean, I think we can use that. I
Yeah,
think
we.
I.
Oh, well, now we will. I'm sitting here typing away. Do, 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 do. Yeah, this is what she's saying. Okay. Do, do, do.
I'm saying it for the benefit of other people
That makes sense. That makes
who
way more
don't
sense because you
know.
kind of had that inflection of like, I am speaking to an audience right now.
Let's talk a little bit about the ones that didn't quite make it. I think in the last video there was mention of NFT, and I think only if you were listening very closely, you might have noticed that, and people probably didn't even notice that was a like a name that we sort of tossed around but did not stick.
Well, because the idea, right, was like we're sitting around drinking tea.
It was very clever, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It didn't really have that dev component to things. And I felt like there was a lacking there as a result. Like I like talking about NFT projects, but we're coming at it from a dev perspective.
Yeah, I know that was very important to you that it have sort of a dev flair. So I think that's kind of how we put everything together. We were like, well, we want it to be sort of related to NFTs, and we want to mention dev stuff in there too. So I think we tried out non-fungible.
Well, I see. Well, the before that one, I think was my favorite that didn't make it,
Oh
which was
yeah.
because right instead of like NFTs, we could talk about Web3, and then I had like two devs. So my idea was two devs, three webs,
Yes.
which I still kind of like that name. Um,
Yeah, but I thought that was too Spider-Man related, so I didn't want to confuse anyone. So
it's fair. It's but then eventually we came around to that. How do we include that NFT sort of thing? And that word fungible came in, and there was the non-fungible at first. But I liked the idea of you and I being effectively like we're just two devs. Like we're not the greatest devs in the world, and but we're
by
not the
far
worst
not.
either. But
Yeah.
there are many.
I agree that the dev part was important because a lot of our identity, even in the Blockstars world, a lot of our identity is tied to some of these projects that we've done, these dev projects.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I think it makes sense. And even though one of my all-time favorite names did not make the cut, and that was Drinks with Devs.
Or was it drinks or with drinking with devs?
Drinking with
So
devs,
like the
drinks with
active
dev, either
verb
one.
in which the podcast just got crazier and crazier as we went
Yeah,
on.
exactly. And so that would have allowed me to have a couple of drinks while we do this, but
There is
eh,
nothing stopping
that's
you.
true too. Okay. Even if it's not in the name, no problem.
Just as long as you're not like constantly clinking your glass, I think we'll be
Oh
okay.
gosh, yeah, no. All right. So yeah, so that's how we got to where we are, two fungible devs, and we've already kind of gotten a sort of an acknowledgement of the name. If I don't know if you noticed, we shared our first video, and already someone commented that they think we're pretty darn non-fungible. So the name kind of it did resonate with people. And also another funny side story is I was having lunch with my son, and I told him, the name was going to be Two Fungible Devs. And he said, Mom, are you sure you want to use that name? Fungible, you know what that means. And I said, yes, I know what that means. And so I said, we're trying to instill a little bit of humility into the name. And he said, oh, so it's sort of sarcastic. I was like, yeah, sort of.
Oh,
But it was very cute. He got worried for me for a second.
you're replaceable. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, we
I
are. That's
know.
kind of the point. We're fine with
Right.
it.
He's like, Mom, are you sure you want to be replaced? I said, yeah. Yeah.
Well, and I've been running into some people who, like, I don't know their dev prowess. All I know them is that they say they're a dev. But there are many that will that kind of use that as like a badge of honor of like I am elite. Respect me. I am a dev in this space. I'm like, yeah, that's not me. Like, no,
Yeah,
I'm
that's
just
not
having fun and
that's
I enjoy
yeah,
it.
that's not you, that's not me, that's not us in general. I
Exactly.
there's no place for that, I don't think.
Well, I know one of the things that we wanted to talk about together was kind of the NFT space, where it's headed, where we're currently at, maybe even talk about some other projects. I know we have a preview of some cool stuff with Blockstars that we're super excited about. They've given us some exclusive preview footage that we'll share. But
Yes.
before we get to that,
Yes. Secret
I want to talk
secret leaked information.
secret. Yeah, yeah. Shh.
which may or may not be how it turns out to be in real life.
I will
So
neither confirm nor deny that Cranzini hacked their website to find these images. I'm just going to leave that out there.
I think I don't know if you have this in Canada, but in the United States, I would say I'm pleading the fifth.
Oh, yes, yes, the right to
Yes.
non-self-incrimination. Okay,
Yes,
that's fair.
I'm
That's fair.
invoking my Fifth Amendment right.
But first, the current NFT space, I wanted to throw out there, like, because things kind of come and go in waves, right? Like when Blockstars first came out, I was back in like February. We were kind of on the tail end of the play to earn wave, where all the play to earn games were hot, and then that was they were starting to slow down at that point, and then we got into the weed meta for a while, where it's like if a project didn't
Oh,
mention weed or pot or marijuana in
yes.
some way,
I,
and then
I I hope we're out of that. I was not a fan of that meta
right,
at
yeah,
all.
and yeah, we are out of that. I mean, there was the OK Bears meta for a while.
Mhm.
There was like, so we kind of come and go with some of these things.
So
And
before you move on to
sure,
the meta that you're gonna introduce now and that we're gonna talk about, you said you started out by saying back when we started getting into Blockstars, there was a P2E meta going
yeah,
on. What
yeah.
were some of the other projects that
Oh,
you can that you recall at the time?
well, okay. So at the time, there was Botborgs was out there. They were releasing some small alpha releases of their games. They're kind of a space metaverse kind of play. There was that one. There was Star Atlas, which is still kind of around, not really on the Magic Eden NFT space, but still technically on the Solanaverse. That's in there. That one has stuck around. Botborg's not so much. What else was there? I remember one where you would use an NFT from like another one of your NFTs, and you would kind of like put it, and then you would battle. Like it could be like these like robot battles,
Oh
and you
wow.
like yeah, like, but it wasn't like you're controlling it. It was pretty much all automated, and then whoever was on the top, would win some prize based on their wallet that they currently had, et cetera, et cetera.
Hmm.
Doge Track got its first launch early on in there, and that's a dog betting meta. It was kind of a play to earn because you own your dogs. You're going to want to breed them. You're going to want to do all that stuff and
Yeah,
train them,
that's a little
etc.
more involved though, and I think they're not really. Are they fully launched? They're not really. They're in beta, right?
I do believe, yeah, they've just launched a beta with a lot of their select holders. I actually think I'll put this out there, and again, like, I'm not, like, full disclosure, I own 2 Doge tracks and a few Doges, but uh the meta that we're going to talk about, and then the meta that they're kind of attached, like, transiently, trans trans
Tangentially.
Tangentially, that's the word. Like, it's not trans, it's
No.
there we go. Okay.
Yeah.
Tangentially related. I think we'll link them, and I think they're going to launch at a really good time. But that whole thing aside, yeah, they're in beta. So yeah, like there's been a lot of like play to earn kind of things that have come. Like, I can't remember any of them, but that's the same thing. It's like, tell me a project that you were interested in last week that you can't remember, because there's probably about 4 or 5.
Oh yeah, for sure.
They just come and go so fast.
So fast.
So
It's a little sad at times, but yeah.
All right, so you want to know like the current meta that I think is on the slow down trend right now. You want to know what it is?
I so want to know.
Okay, it's the gambling meta. So it's like everybody and their dog is setting up a casino where you can do online gambling with your tokens or
Is
their
that what my
token.
dog's doing at all hours of the night?
Yes,
Coming home at 3 a.m.
Yeah, you weren't victim of that wallet drain. It was your Chihuahua
Okay.
raiding your Solana wallet and betting it all on the soulcrash.io website.
Oh no. Okay.
So okay, here's what it is. So basically the gambling meta, and we are used to in the NFT space, but also in the crypto space, back in last year where we had the huge bull run, we are used to seeing massive gains. Like, that's something we all want. That's something we're all seeking. Everybody's in it. Nobody's in it strictly for the community. We all kind of have this hope, dream, and desire. That's fine. But everything's in that bear market right now. And so there isn't a lot of projects. There isn't a lot of things where you can chance to get those gains in the NFT space. So what happens is everybody starts gambling. And there's a ton of projects on there. I think it was like 2 weeks ago, you couldn't go into like the Magic Eden's recently launched without seeing another coin flip project where you bet your coin and you double your soul or whatever. And everybody was into that. There's the DGen coin flip. They've been at it for a while, so they're first to market. And then you have a whole bunch of other ones. But more and more larger casinos are opening with different types of games. And I think the popular one right now is something called Crash. And so I've got it up on my screen here. This one's soulcrash.io. And the premise is basically you start, you do your wager, and you can see what's going to happen is the moment it starts with your wager, the multiplier will start going, and you need to stop, like you need to get out before you crash and get nothing. And so it slowly picks up, and it's kind of got that, the slow ramping up. Now it's 1.45x. And so you can kind of get the idea of what people are doing. You can see people are betting currently for it, et cetera, et cetera. I can understand why people would do this, but this is not my thing. Where it's going to really get to people is you could kind of see here where you have like people will be chasing the 5x or something to that effect, and so they're going to hang on, and you're going to lose much more than you will gain.
So explain to me what I'm seeing here though. On the right hand side is people.
That's people betting. Yep.
Okay.
That's people betting.
So the top person bet 1 USDC.
Yep.
And but depending on what you wager, the okay, so it's 1 point whatever times. So if I bet 1 USDC and that keeps going up.
Yeah, and you can see the people when it turns green, they've gotten out.
They got out. Okay.
Well, see, this one's going up. This one's going up. Who's gonna crash?
We got some holders on.
Yeah.
Oh,
somebody got out at 6.59. And you can see
that's
it really
exciting. That's very exciting.
Right. And so like I can understand why people would be interested in this one. But at the same time, if you think about a casino, right? A casino isn't in it to give money away. Right? They're not into it to lose money. At best, or sorry, I guess at worst, if you're part of the casino, at worst, you're going to want to break even for the betting side of things, but charge a fee for every transaction, and you make money off of the fees. So like with DGen coin flip, for instance, for every 1 soul that I bet and win, I will bet somebody else bet 1 soul and lose. So it always kind of remains even. But in both those transactions, I've charged 3.5%. So I earned,
Yeah.
3.5% of one soul twice. And then that goes back to my holders. That's the basic economics of this. But the challenge, of course, is like you're losing money at that point. Like, all things considered, if you just lay it all out on the table, you're losing money and the house will always win.
Right. So explain now to me on the left hand side, the the 1 point whatever times or that um green line that we
Yeah.
see.
Yeah. That's slowly climbing up here.
I don't, maybe you know or maybe you don't know the technology behind that. So is that just like a random
Yeah.
number?
Yeah.
Okay.
So my guess is so there's several ways to do a project like this, but my guess is before this even launches, before this even starts, the number's already chosen. So they know what the next multiplier is going to be.
Right. That's what I figured as well.
Right. And then it just kind of runs its course, waiting. And look, everybody lost. And so
So it seems to me that so yeah, so that's got to be a pretty complicated random number generator, right? Because
so that it's not predictable.
yeah, so it's not predictable and also so that you know, what's the range? Is there like a high and a low or is a random number between what and what, in
Yeah,
other
yeah.
words?
Like, well, zero and
Well, yeah,
what's the
zero.
height? Yeah. But what's the
Yeah,
height? Yeah.
exactly. Or every time it runs is even the range random. Uh,
Right. Yeah.
yeah.
Yep. Yep. And that's often what I've thought. Like, I remember, hearing about like online gambling websites and thinking about it from a dev perspective is that, like, I already mistrust things like slot machines. You know what I mean? Like, I don't trust a slot machine to be fair.
Yeah.
But if I put that on the web, like, I trust that even less.
Oh yeah.
Like, that's kind of my, like, I know what I could do to make that seem like you're winning, et cetera, et cetera. But in addition, one of the unique things that I think is really interesting is, did you ever play the video game Candy Crush?
Yes.
Okay. Candy Crush, when it came out, was absurdly addictive.
Yes.
Do you know why it was addictive?
Because people like to win levels, I guess.
Yeah,
I
yes,
don't
absolutely, absolutely.
I got
So
it right.
yes, yes, but it was the way they did it. So the game doesn't matter, whatever the game is it? But it was all about how the reward structure and when it comes out.
Okay, I think I
So
know what you're gonna say, so let me hear you out because
okay,
I
okay.
did play quite a bit. So,
Okay,
all
so
right.
the gap, like, so normally if you were gonna do like a leveling system, right? Like, if you did like a linear leveling system, it's like every 1,000 points you go up a level. But with Candy Crush, they did something different where they measured when people started to lose interest and they gave them levels quicker. Now, it wasn't dynamic, but they did like a kind of like an overarching chart. So they also measured some of the like notable numbers that people will invest in. So the level gap between level 4 and level 5 was huge, whereas the level gap between 5 and 6 was small. And the
Mhm.
idea was that if you're at level 4, you're gonna be like, oh man, and then you make it to level 5, you feel excited. That was a huge win for you, but they want you to keep going. But if they can't just keep making this harder and huge, but they want you to keep feeling good, that endorphin rush. So they made level 6, make getting level 6 a little bit easier, and level 7 a little bit easier, but then 8's a little bit harder, and then 9's really easy, but then 10 is super hard, and kind of, changing the difficulty level to attain certain levels according to your own psychology.
Yes, makes sense. Definitely makes sense. And I've seen it in other games too, and I've
Yes.
even seen it in games where it's actually as a player you actually know like level 1, 2, 3, and 4 are going to get progressively harder, and then 5 is going to be really hard, and then the same thing for 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10, and so on.
Yeah.
So you always know that, the multiples of 5, those levels are going to be the hardest.
Well, and a good, and I'll put that in quotation marks because it is gambling, a good gambling program, whatever the game is, captures that psychology well. Right? Like if I were to build a gambling game in some way, shape, or form, if I were to build one that captured that sort of psychology of like, I can, if I just go a little bit further, I can make it. You know what I meaning? Like I as somebody who would own the gambling program, I would want you to keep putting your money down on that table until you lose it. I don't want you to win it. And so I want to
Well, of course.
manufacture
Yeah.
something
Yeah.
that entices you to keep going, keep pushing it forward, keep, all of that, because I want you to lose. I don't want you to win. So,
It's very, very sinister.
well, yeah, that's gambling, right? Like
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
now,
Yeah.
now I don't think everybody in the gambling meta space is that way, and I think there's a lot of people that, you have these coin flips, and it's pretty open, and there is the blockchain, so you could in theory check to see if they're lying to you over their odds and their payouts, et cetera, et cetera. But not many people are going to. There are probably gambling programs out there that are incredibly exploitive. I don't know which ones they are. I haven't looked into it because I don't play them.
Well, yeah, and I mean, I think online, like you were saying earlier, online, it does feel like it could be a lot more shady. You go to a casino in Las Vegas, and someone's dealing you blackjack, and yes, they use like, I don't even know how many decks of cards.
Yeah, I think it's a 5 deck, but yeah.
Yeah. They still are normal playing cards, and your odds are what they are. I
Yeah.
mean, it's not rigged. It can't
Yeah.
be rigged.
And there's so much accountability as well. So while you could rig a roulette wheel to go onto a certain number, you totally could.
You could.
There are authorities in place
Yeah.
that ensure that even though the game is still in their favor, they're not cheating.
Right.
But there isn't for this. Like, we're in the Wild West here. Like, there's no.
I do have to say, if I really think about it, gambling is a draw, and it's always going to be a draw. So just, I think, like what you're saying, he's coming up with different ways, to entice people, or different games, or different betting options.
From a marketing standpoint, from all of that, like, we're just in that stage right now where the meta is now being flooded, and we're about to move on to the next thing, which I'm not sure what the next thing is, but I have a guess.
Well, be careful of guessing in a recording, because we will be able to come back to this.
That's fair, and that's why I'm going to say, this is.
But
the
I
next
totally
big
want
thing.
you
I have
to.
no idea what
I
it is.
I totally want you to guess.
Yeah. It is legitimate to guess. So my thought is, with the psychology of people, is that we have all this pent up desire for that quick win, right? That quick payoff. That's the NFT space in general. And then moving into gambling. There's going to be a lot of us that lost money. You know what I mean? Like, with that's just inevitable, that sort of thing. But we still want to have some sort of investment. I think we're going to slowly slide away from the betting and more into long-term investment meta. That's my guess. And so what that could be is, that could be like investment fund type NFTs. So that could be, if you think about like a hedge fund that's where you buy one stock, but they're actually like, that one stock pools all the money together and buys a whole bunch of other stocks in a certain area, and then you generate the dividend or the yield based on what all of that big massive buying power is, etc. That's what hedge funds are. I think you're going to see a lot more of those starting to rise out, where you buy NFTX, and that constitutes one share in this community pool that we all put together, that is managed. We pay somebody to manage this pool in the crypto space, and then things are going to slowly ramp up. It's a way of diversifying your portfolio by buying one thing, as opposed to trying to buy all of the things, and paying somebody a little bit to be an expert to do that for you. I think that might be, kind of where we might head. And that's a little bit more, I mean, certainly there's some shadiness that can go on with hedge funds, as
Oh,
we all
for
know.
sure. As we know in real life, hedge
Yes.
funds. Yeah.
Yes. Right. But at the same time, there's I think there's a little bit more opportunity and safety in an investment in that way. So just because you are diversified.
Interesting. Interesting.
So
Very
there are a few projects that exist like that. That are slowly and as we slowly climb out of the bear market, and once we get back into the bull market, those investment meta projects will be huge, because you'll see like, oh my goodness, if I buy this and then it's gonna skyrocket, you know, because it's taking advantage of all the big things. I don't even have to worry about it. What a great opportunity for that. You know what I mean?
To me, like meta, it's almost synonymous with like ho hum, like everyone's doing the same thing and no one's really doing it well, but you know, you're just
Uh-huh.
riding the tide.
Uh-huh.
Okay. My hope is that that whole thing goes away. And you know, I want the NFT world to be more of, and I'm gonna segue back into Blockstars a little bit, but it is my best example. I want it to be more about entertainment, and I am buying these NFTs because I get to play a game with them. I'm not expecting to make $1 million off of playing that game. I might make a little bit, but in the end result, it's fun.
Yeah.
Okay. That's one thing. The other thing is I'm really, really kind of interested in the whole blockchain as you know, forming contracts and also evolving into the music world, evolving into using blockchain technology. And I think that's, you know, that's very promising. And that would be something that's very interesting to me. You know, music as NFTs. So I'm hoping someone, you know, gets that ball rolling. And there are a couple of projects, and some of them we can actually talk about in future episodes, because I think that would be a really interesting topic as well.
Well, shall we have our sneak preview of what's going on with Blockstars?
Let's do it. So actually, it's interesting. You're pulling up this
Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
pulling up
like
my list, my Blockstars.
The list of your Blockstars. So
the all-star crew. Yeah, they're up here. Yeah.
until about a week or two ago, I guess until about 2 weeks ago, I had been accessing Blockstars on a 13-inch Mac computer.
Okay. Wow,
And
that's a small
yeah,
screen. Yeah.
yes. And it's the same one that I had been using since the very beginning, since the very first time I ever typed in app.blockstars.gg.
Okay.
So then 2 weeks ago, I got a new computer and I got it all set up. And I pull up app, you know, of course, one of the first things I do is I get all my crypto stuff set up. I get my wallets on there and my little extensions, and I pull up app.blockstars.gg and I see that list like you're seeing it.
And you
And
had never seen it this way?
never had seen it. All I saw was
Like this.
yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Like this.
Yes, exactly.
Interesting.
That's how I had been playing Blockstars up until about 2 weeks ago.
I won't critique the things that I'd love to see here, but the preview that we have is
Drum roll. We could put in a drum roll here.
Should we? It'd probably be like a
Maybe.
terrible one. It should be like somebody just going dunt 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 dunt, and is the Nagme feature not gonna make it?
Okay, so before you get off and running, I know you want to bring it up and show everybody.
Yeah.
Let's explain what that actually
fine,
means.
But okay, fine.
So NGMI stands for not gonna make it. Okay.
Right.
Now, when I got into this whole NFT world a little over a year ago now, or actually a little less than a year ago now, there are so many acronyms. Okay. Yeah, we're like, okay, so we're looking at the blog post.
The blog post about this. So this was a while back too. This was back on April 6th. So
this all came about because Blockstars, when they first came out, everybody was concerned with the how rare rating, which was sort of the rarity of your
Right.
block star.
Right.
Then when skills got released and stars, max stars, min stars, current stars, all that stuff, that changed the whole ball game. And your block star that was, maybe like a how rare of like, 1100 all of a sudden is a 5 star, and now they're, like way more coveted. Okay. But at the same time, there were a whole lot of block stars that were like, 2 stars. And people started getting a little worried about it. And Blockstars team responded with this NGMI feature, not going to make it. And so, do you want to explain exactly how it works?
Okay. Well, the not gonna make it feature. The idea is that you want to get rid of a block star. So you've got one that you want to burn, essentially. In role play language, I guess this means they get fired.
Yeah.
I like the idea of retired, but it makes sense that they get fired because they didn't actually accomplish anything yet. So you don't
They're
really
voted out
retire.
of the band.
Yeah, yeah. We're gonna go in a different direction. It's not you, it's us.
Yes, exactly.
So the first thing that happens is you transfer all of the XP. Note that it is both the base XP. So if we go to the Blockstars app here, and let's say I'll just bring up my first one. So it is all of these like filled out lines. So I know that my practicing on this Blockstar has gone up quite a bit. But there's been a few others like fame and social media, etc. for this one. So all of that stuff that's been accumulated and all of the base stuff. That's going to be important in our discussion. All of that, well, at least a portion of all of that gets transferred to a new Blockstar. Not a new, one of your other Blockstars. What that does essentially helps you level up a different Blockstar quicker because they're just going to get this huge boost of XP. Another thing that it does is they learn a new musical skill. So if they have a musical skill available, where do I have it here? Where's my Blockstars? There we go. If they have like a music skill 2 or a music skill 3, they can learn a new skill. So I've got a ukulele here. I could burn this drummer and attach it to the Blockstar number 180, and this person would be a ukulele / drummer, which would be the coolest person ever at that point.
Yes.
Right. So
invariably.
Right. And they would get all of their XP, which is very minimal, actually. Not that much, but that's what happens when it's a very low wage Blockstar.
And this is just an example anyway.
Yeah, it's just an example. And then the last benefit that you'll see here is that you earn a new Blockstar. So this I think is one of the most interesting features because when it comes to like a play to earn game, you've invested, you've got this particular thing that you spent money on, that you're ready to go, to just throw it away in hopes that it has a good benefit on one of the others. That's not the best financial investment. I would rather keep all of my Blockstars, let them all keep earning. But there's a caveat, and the caveat is you get an IOU NFT. So when Blockstars starts a new generation of Blockstars, you will have an IOU that you will be able to trade on the secondary market or use as your option to get another Blockstar in the next set. And it'll reflect some of its rarity as well. So if you burn a rare Blockstar, I think you will get a rare Blockstar or it'll be more likely to earn a rare Blockstar at that point.
The other part is, the transferring of the musical instrument. So you showed that your Blockstar has to have an open spot, which is all of the Blockstars when at mint time were minted with a primary skill, and then some of them had 1 additional open slot or 2 additional open slots,
right?
Or some
right.
had none. Through gameplay, you can open up those additional slots just organically without burning a Blockstar and using NGMI. But what we're going to show is the NGMI method.
All right, so this is the first image that I've seen, and so this is going to be the Nag Me feature. You can see on the right hand side in the gray here, So view, Blockstar, practice, busk, and fire.
Okay, so there will be a new option. So
Yep.
so that on the right hand side should look familiar to people who have played before and who have
Right.
practiced in bus. But then the new option to fire. Now I haven't really looked at this. I didn't study it on purpose because I wanted to experience it with everybody at the same time.
Okay.
But what I could tell immediately when I looked at it was, you're selecting the block star you want to fire, so that appears up at the top, and then at the bottom you choose who you want to transfer all of that power to.
Yeah. So you got your little drop down menu there. One thing I'll note is that you can see here, it says writing, recording, like bugle, writing, and recording. And so what that says to me is like, that's the experience that's going to transfer, and it's not going to all go to music skill, but it's going to go to like your writing, your recording, et cetera, all the way down. So
that's what it appears. There are little scroll bars there. So for each skill, you can see the XP, and then you'll see what will transfer to the second block star. Yeah.
So what this could mean is maybe you've got a block star that is terrible at music and plays the harpsichord, but for some reason has like a 90 in social media, because apparently harpsichords are really, really interesting on TikTok. You could not gonna make it that guy or girl or whomever, them, and put that to somebody who is very terrible at social media. And basically they trained them on social media, and now your block star has kind of gotten the boost in that area that they didn't necessarily need, which I think was really neat. And in part because we haven't been training our block stars that long, so that base XP is actually quite important in some of those areas.
So yeah, so explain the whole base XP. So what we're looking at here, we're seeing Blockstar 1082 has 1548 XP in their musical instrument bugle, and that's gonna transfer over to 3123 in their secondary musical slot. So that 3123 will then be able to play the bugle, and will play at a level maybe not 1548 level. They won't get all of the 1548 XP.
Right.
They'll get a portion of it from what I've understood.
Well, they will get a portion of it. I don't know if 1548 is a portion of it yet.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like, because I'm looking over
Yeah.
here, 1082, they have a 6 in bugle, which isn't very much.
No.
But my assumption is it's more than 1500 XP to get to 6.
Okay.
So I'm wondering if that's already.
Okay, so they've already done the calculation.
I wonder if that's the case. Yeah.
Okay, so.
Oh, yeah, and it says here you'll be transferring the following XP. So I think there gives the implication that that's the case.
Okay, so the implication is that these are the numbers that will transfer, but we're transferring the XP. So we're transferring 1548 XP, which will probably take our 3123 to like a level 1 or 2 at bugle, maybe.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
Well, but actually, no, it won't.
Oh, okay.
And I say that because Blockstar 3123 doesn't have a second musical ability available to them.
Well, we have to assume that they do.
Well, no, okay, no, because I think that's the difference between these two images. So I've got another image here. So if I show this one, you can see Blockstar 13, it's transferring 2, and then you see new ability here on Blockstar 4174, which we did not see over here.
Okay,
and then if we I think this is what it looks like without one.
Okay, so are we to understand then that in that first shot, you just clicked on fire.
Yeah.
And now you have this transfer to, and you have this list. 3123 shows up there, but you wouldn't be able to execute the transaction on that one.
I think you could. I'm pretty sure you could.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you could. Like, you will transfer XP over, and you'll still get all of the other NAGME features, but you won't get the bugle attached to Blockstar 3123.
Got it. Okay, that makes sense. Makes sense.
Yeah, but
so
if we go,
so in that example, you're transferring all of the XP, all of the other skills get affected,
Exactly.
and the
And you
bugle
still get your
just
IOU.
goes away into the ether somewhere.
Yeah. And then if we look and compare these two, so if you see here, so this one here, Blockstar number 13 is 3.5 out of 5 star, is transferring over to a 3.5 max star. One, they're going to get the clarinet. One thing that I think is interesting is this one isn't showing the XP yet. So I wonder if the XP was maybe on a previous, like they got a back here.
Maybe.
And it doesn't
maybe,
have a
yeah.
drop down.
Maybe
So
this is after you've already selected. So you've in that previous screen, you selected the one that you want to transfer to. You click something and then you get here.
Although I will say this, like I'm looking at this screen here in the background, Blockstar 13 shows vocals as their second musical ability. Now it's showing clarinet. So I wonder if you can overwrite musical abilities.
I wonder.
Now,
we there's no way for us to know.
No, I'm speculating here, but
yeah, you're speculating.
I would posit that if that is true, I would reveal my musical abilities first, rewrite them after.
Okay, so I want to just point out that up until now, what we've been told is that you can only move a Blockstar's musical skill into an open slot.
Interesting. That's true. That is what we've been told.
In all of the town halls, that's what we were told. So,
okay.
I have to believe that that still holds.
Okay. And I think that does. That makes sense to me.
Which probably means that we're seeing mock-ups and these are just samples, examples, and and I go through this a lot in my day job. This is how I know of this. When you're doing testing and you're doing demos and you're reinforcing to the people watching, this is our test environment. So you might see some things that don't look the way they're supposed to in the live environment. But
there is something worth noting here on this particular one. So Blockstar 13 is a clarinet player by trade, and Blockstar 4174 is a piano player by trade. When this transfers over, the musical experience does not go to clarinet. That starts off at 1, and we see that all the way down this row here. Instead, the experience here ends up going to the piano. So all of that practicing they did on the clarinet doesn't matter in terms of clarinet. It matters in terms of piano on this particular Blockstar.
Interesting.
So what that means then is, let's say, like if I go to mine here and I've got my vocalist, and it's like, okay, I've got my sweet acoustic guitar player or my bass guitar player. I want vocals on the bass guitar player. And so I'll transfer over, vocals from, one of these Blockstars, like this Blockstar here, the 33 vocals. I'll transfer that over. It's going to start off at 1. He's not going to be a good singer, but he'll be a better bass guitar player. Interesting. I still have to train that skill up, which still makes sense. But that means then that maybe it's better for me to send the bass guitar up to the vocalist instead.
Interesting. Yeah. So can you pull back up the
this one here?
Yeah. So if we see the plus 72,901 XP in piano and the plus 72,891 in writing.
Yep.
And I have to feel like, if we were able to scroll down, we'd see added XP and the other skills as well, if there were. So that does indicate, you're right, that does indicate that the musical skill does not come over with any XP. It's at ability 1 and you're starting from scratch.
And if I am not mistaken, so I do believe they have said, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, their primary, so music 1 will always be their best, music 2 will always be their second best, music 3 will always be their third best.
Oh, I didn't know that. I did not know that.
I'm pretty sure the maximum of music 1
I'm gonna challenge what you're saying, and
Oh,
I'm gonna go the opposite way, and I'm gonna go with that. I think I heard that your music skill one may not be your best skill. That your
interesting.
best skill might yet to have been revealed. So
Interesting. Okay.
we can have a follow up on this to
Okay.
see
Okay. Okay.
see who's right.
We'll cue this up, and then
And
once we
yeah,
know for sure, we'll play this clip and see who is right.
exactly.
That's
And
fair.
you know what? Another interesting side note: that piano player that you just had up,
Yeah.
that's mine.
That's your piano player?
Yeah, coincidence. Yeah.
So you should ask them, for testing purposes, you should transfer 13 over to your block piano player. You'll accept a clarinet if you're getting 3.5 stars worth of experience.
Yeah, I already have a clarinet, so
Yeah.
yeah.
There's
But
not
yeah,
many bands clarinet could be in. That's true.
there's not, and in fact, my clarinet is probably gonna go the way of the of the NGMI at some point as well. So,
Yep.
but so one thing that we didn't talk about there at the very bottom.
Yeah, I was gonna point
Okay,
that out
go ahead.
because okay, so I'm looking at this one, right? And you're seeing the roll is less than the XP, and then over here the roll is more than the XP.
Hmm. Yeah. So it seems that the better your NGMI is, the
Yep,
more it costs
the more it
to
costs.
burn them and transfer their skills. So because that one's a 5 star. That would be. I guess I understand. Like you kind of brought the point up before that like there's not very much use for a clarinet, so maybe you're gonna burn that. I don't know. You know, I don't know why you would do that, but
Well,
um,
like
it's a
here
five star.
here's an
So
example. I've got a 2-star harpsichord. He looks awesome.
he's cool. Yeah.
He is cool looking. He is an average harpsichord player and doesn't really have a whole lot going for him
Not really.
other than his looks.
Yeah.
He's got a sharp look to him. Love the beard.
See, I wouldn't be able to part with them just because of that.
It's not about emotional attachment, it's about numbers. But
Okay, fine.
if I were to burn him, I like, and if I look here, like, let's go to bandmaker, your bandmaker tool, and because I can't remember how many bands have a harpsichord, right? So there's one, two, three, four, only 4 bands, and all of them require like other instrument, like small instruments. So like harpsichord, harp, and flute, that's gonna be hard to accomplish. uh
Yeah.
harpsichord
150
cymbal,
instruments.
yeah, of course. Harpsichord ukulele, that one's also rare. Harpsichord keyboard, timpani, and acoustic guitar and drums, like, oh my word.
Okay.
So
Okay,
a
true.
harpsichord is a tough instrument to put into a band, is
It
basically
is.
where I'm going. So that, for me, this might be one that I train, because his practicing skills at a 50, that I train and then burn and
Yeah.
not worry about harpsichord, like not transfer
Right,
that
because
ability over.
all of the your harpsichord's XP will transfer to whoever you're transferring him to, which
Exactly.
which is I think the value, and also in that example that we looked at with the clarinet, that's the value. All of the XP from that 5 star, which that could potentially be a lot. Um, all of that gets transferred over to that piano.
So if all things remain the same, I would suggest that if you are going to nag me something, consider the practicing skill. So it would be better for me to take somebody who is high at practicing. Well, maybe not this one because it's a 5-star oboe, but maybe because I should, because it's an oboe. But take something that's high in practicing, got a good practice rating, and then nag meing that over, because you or practicing with that one a whole bunch, and making use of that practicing skill, then transferring it over to
Mm-hmm.
something that is more useful and effective.
Yeah, for sure, for
And we've
sure.
got time because the game isn't running right now, right? Like, we're not making bands. We are just busking and practicing. That's all we've
No,
got.
and I don't feel like when this is released, I'm gonna rush right out and start burning or firing Blockstars. I need to think this through, you know,
Right.
for sure. I need to think it through because I don't think, you know, it's got to be part of a larger strategy, you know,
Yeah. Yeah.
and one of the other things I wanted to mention about your harpsichord, since he is so cool and it would be a shame to lose him, you can use a harpsichord as a replacement for, say, like a piano or a keyboard or a grand piano or anything um in the same grouping.
This is true. This
Yes,
is true.
it won't be as effective, and considering it's a 2 star to start
Yeah,
with.
my
Yeah.
mostly my thought is that his strength is in his practicing. So that I'm going
Mhm.
to use his practicing until it's useless, meaning he's all practiced up, and then he's going to take one for the team, as they
Yeah.
say.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
I think
do
that makes
hope.
sense.
I do hope. I remember like early on when we first started discussing the NAGME feature and going through all of this stuff. I do hope that there's some way that they save the character models. Like in my mind, what I would love is if you owned a, what would I say? If you owned a studio or a concert space or whatever, that could be a place. All the ones that you burned according could go in there and that would be part of decoration. That would be kind of fun. But
Yeah.
I get that they can't necessarily do that, but making sure
Yeah,
those character models aren't gone forever. Maybe they're the general everyday folk that are in the town that we see in the background.
maybe they'll be,
Like
you know,
like
walking around
like
somewhere
these,
and
like here.
yeah. Yeah. And it's funny because, you know, a lot of the block stars that we see in some of the stuff that some of the videos and the scenes that are being released, a lot of them are actual block stars, but a good portion of them are not even real block stars. Like
Right.
they're not a numbered block star.
Right. Yeah.
Um
They're just custom
yeah.
created features. And we know that because as you look at some of these, that they're too matchy
Hmm.
to all be random.
Yeah, and I know I'm not gonna even try to represent that I know every Blockstar's face by heart, but there are some that I don't recognize. So they can't possibly be real Blockstars, or else I would know it.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure this bearded guy is actually the same as the pirate in the music video.
Most
They
likely,
just
yeah.
recycled him and took off his hat. That's what
And
it
that's
is.
Lynette, the accountant there with
Yeah.
the khaki skirt. Yeah. Um, so let's show the clips again just so people can get a good look at them.
Yep.
This is the one that we think is the confirmation screen from when there was an open slot,
Yeah.
an open music slot,
Yeah.
and
It
then
appears there was one. Yeah.
yeah, and then the other one is the screenshot when it appears there was not an open slot.
Now, can I point out some things that are not necessarily related to NAGME that might be worth?
By all
They gave
means,
this. They gave us this to point out, right?
by all means.
So I would say here that you see harmonica as one of the skills and steel drums down here. Just gonna leave
Uh-huh.
that out there.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I mean, this is gonna start some sort of a mass hysteria out there, but yeah, I do see that harmonica, and very interesting. I think that would be a very cool instrument to have.
Well,
Um,
what like okay. There's a part of me like it doesn't really work for Blockstars because we're limited to 3 skills. But like one man band, that person that's got the drum on their back, the harmonica in front,
mhm.
and maybe like something else, you know what I mean? Like I that's what I want to see.
Yeah, it's like
Accordion, harmonica, and
accordion,
drum, and it's
harmonica,
one person with
and
all 3
drum.
skills.
Yep, yeah, yep,
Oh, that'd be
yeah.
so good.
That would be. I know. This is like your dream. So,
Just these random instruments are just thrown together as a genre, and there's like one person who competes in that genre category.
so I just want to take just a another quick look at the bottom there where it says spend 281,880 roll.
Yes.
And I guess it's then saying you're gonna gain 276,983 XP for
Yes. That's what it
Okay.
appears. Yeah.
that. And that's split up into whatever the categories
Whatever
are.
the categories all
and,
are.
and
Yeah.
some of the ones that we can't see.
Yeah.
So that one, so yeah, so see here we have, so I'm gonna again challenge you on something.
Okay. Okay.
Because I honestly, my understanding was you absolutely could not transfer to a Blockstar unless they have an open secondary or tertiary skill. That was my understanding.
And my understanding was that you could, they just wouldn't get the musical ability.
Okay,
I'm like 90% on that one. I would put money on that
okay.
one, not the
That's
other one.
another one we're gonna have to.
Well, hopefully I'm right both times.
So, so that was two things. So, which would mean, if I'm right, that would mean that this particular shot that we're looking at is where you're gonna click that little down arrow, choose the Blockstar you want to transfer to.
Yep.
Okay, they have the open slot. You can click next, go to the next screen, which is the confirm screen.
Yeah.
That's the way I'm envisioning this.
That's how I would see that too.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So
that
good.
makes total sense to me. That's awesome.
Very cool.
I'm excited to fire
well
people.
Executed. Yeah, it's really, I'm really impressed with it, honestly. And it seems like a very simple, just click here and select here and then click confirm. But the behind the scenes mechanics, wow.
Well, and you're gonna get something transferred to you directly. There's a lot of moving components. From a dev perspective, it's not as simple as it looks.
No,
and
absolutely not.
And from a UI perspective, you want it to look as simple as possible.
Right.
Like all that other
that's the trick. Yeah.
busyness, like massive transaction and code and everything. You don't want any of that. You want it as simple as possible, because accessibility, especially in the Web3 gaming space, if it's going to succeed, needs to be there. And
yeah, totally.
Awesome stuff.
And great. I mean, really exciting that we had this and we're able to show it. We don't have a really good estimate of when this is coming out. And again, it might look slightly different, completely different. We don't know. As far as I can see, it's looking really good.
I'm pretty stoked too. Thank you to the Blockstars crew for leaking some of that information for us so that we could overanalyze it and get everything wrong. So
absolutely. And now this is all we're gonna think about for the next however many weeks.
And by all means, if you think we're right, if you think we're wrong, if you know that I'm right, feel free to comment in the comments below or hit us up on the Discord channel, etc., etc. Pretty exciting stuff.
Absolutely. Yep. Definitely.
All right, that's it for us. See ya.
Yeah, that's it. I am Cranzini.
And I'm kayargh. Talk to you later.